on March 24th, I heard about the security breach in the chat group on Signal that was reported by Jeff Goldberg in the Atlantic. He's apparently the editor in chief, I believe. And he was inadvertently added to a group that was discussing the bombing of the Houthis in Yemen. And there apparently he didn't, it was kind of bizarre. The whole thing was bizarre. If you looked at the text, it was just bizarre. But he apparently thought it was just kind of some kind of a prank or some kind of a scam to get him that had been invited into until there actually was a bombing of Yemen. And then he said, this is pretty strange, but apparently it was a real group that met on Signal in order to discuss this potential, what turned out to be actual bombing, in which people were killed in Yemen. And so after the bombing, he realized that it was true. And so he put an article about it in the Atlantic. And of course, the GOP and all the head brass freaked out because it was such a great breach of security. And if you want to know more about that, of course, you can check that on YouTube or there's lots and lots of reviews of the whole incident with high level security people and a lot of experts discussing it, or you can read the article. So anyway, I decided to talk to the heavenside about it and see what they had to say. So here is the conversation that I had. Wow, that security breach was pretty crazy. What do you guys think? Thomas says, in answer to your question, Steph, I do believe that there will be a lot more pushback than you ever did see because the American people are going to rise up, and they're going to say, you fooled us. You fooled us, you fool, and we're not your tool to take our country and throw it down the drain. So we're going to retrain our children to think differently so they don't fall into the same conspiracy mindedness that caused us to be so stupid we couldn't see reality. You really think that's going to happen to those people? Yes, I do. I think that all the Trump voters are going to look pretty stupid for a while, but they're also going to be embarrassed by what they see happening on the world stage. They're going to be very embarrassed, and they're going to have to admit that they made a really big mistake. And how can they take their country back? That's the question. Now that they made the big mistake, what do? And they won't know what to do because they're too incapable of being thoughtful, you see. They're just incapable of being thoughtful. It's all very reactive and not proactive. And so they just react to whatever can punch their buttons, you see. They have a lot of triggers, and if something hits one of their triggers, they go wild. But the thing that's going to happen is that their triggers are going to get hit by the child in the White House. And the child in the White House is going to say, well, I didn't know. I didn't know you felt that way. I didn't know that way you felt that way. I thought you trusted on me. And they'll say, well, we didn't know what you wanted to do when you got in the White House. And he would say, well, I told you. Well, I told you. So they'll point fingers at each other, and the MAGA will say, you fooled us. You fooled us, you fool. And Trump will say, you fooled me. You fooled me. You told me this is what you wanted. You told me this is what you wanted. And so I'm just doing what you told me. I'm following my mandate, you see. because I have a date with my destiny. And his date with his destiny is to be removed from office. There's just no doubt about it. His destiny is to be removed from office. Now, you ask me, how will that happen? Especially with the current Congress and the fact that they have the U.S. Army on their side, because Trump is the commander in chief of the Army, and he can decide to impose martial law and crack down on people like you, Stephanie, who are standing up to him, and all the others, of course. And the Army will have a choice. Will they continue to play stupid and do what he does say, or will they stand up and be counted, you see? Now, this is very important today because the security breach that occurred is very, very, very shameful to the military complex. The commanders of the various parts of the military complex are looking at this breach, and they're saying to themselves, oh my God, we could be walking right into a trap. We could be walking right into a trap because this claptrap can't keep his clap shut. And we need to do something about it. And then to top it off, we have a commander in chief who just stands there and says, well, I didn't know, but you know, the Atlantic is a terrible magazine, and I think they're going to go out of business. This is an idiot. We are being commanded by an idiot, and he is risking not only the lives of those in the USA, but he's risking the fact that we might end up in a world war. They're really thinking about this, and they're talking about it among themselves because, you see, they're smarter than their counterparts in Washington think they are. They're a little smarter, and they say he's going to start a war, and he's going to demand that we support him, you see, and he's going to cause so much problems because he's alienated all our allies. So if he's alienated all our allies, who are we going to depend on? Nobody. This is the problem of being an isolationist in today's world. We have nobody to depend upon because they all say, we're not going to get involved today. We're not going to get involved with a country that basically sells their secrets to Putin and others and are so lax in the way they run business there that they don't care who hears it. They don't care who hears it. They are a bunch of idiots, and we're not going to play their way. And so the military complex is beginning to shy away from this president and his cabinet, you see, because he is creating so much chaos that the security of the USA is at risk. And they're sworn to protect the USA. That's very important to them because there's a lot of career officers in the military who take their duty to protect American citizens very seriously. And of course, their own soldiers and equipment could be destroyed by these fools who can't even keep their mouths shut until they can get in a closed room that's been checked for bugs and not act like a bunch of thugs who just want to give high fives and hugs for being at the top of the totem pole, you see. And so there's going to be some fireworks going on. But right now, there's a lot of energy that's being pulled back. It's being pulled back like that tsunami we talked about when the water pulls way back from the shore and you know something's about to break. You know you better run for the hills because something's going to break here and it's going to be devastating, you see. All right, we've talked before about the climate change. You don't expect that to really rev up, begin in a, I mean, it's going to go on, I'm sure, but to really rev up until 2027, right? You questioning the accuracy of my prediction today because I predicted that the USA would have a couple years to prepare, but I'm not sure that's going to happen now, Stephanie, because the energy is so chaotic all around the world that the inability to even keep track of the environmental concerns is on the rack. And the people who could help out at this time are being left without a dime to help them save humanity. So there's going to be some chaos in the way this is all going to unfold, you see. So you think that how would them not having money? I mean, I know they can't predict then. Without the money, they lose their ability to, I mean, if NOAA loses funding and, the other, a lot of universities that have the environmental and climate programs lose their funding. I mean, if the University of Maine lost its ability to put out the, whatever they call it, put out the reanalyzer, I wouldn't be able to keep up with things. Um, so if all these organizations lose their funding and all the researchers lose their funding, I could see where it just leaves a black hole. But that's not going to change how fast climate change happens, is it? No, it's not. However, it's going to affect the ability of humanity to prepare for the inevitability of the rising sea, which, as you know, means more than just ocean levels. It refers to the atmospheric rivers, which we've talked about, that are caused by the intrusion in the lower atmosphere of certain particles that affect the ability of rain to form and so force the moisture into the streams that will dump water in a way that has never been seen to this day. But what I want to say is that the chaos in the USA is so great that it can impact the ability of the government to control the messaging to the people about what's coming, you see, just as you rely on your weather report, Stephanie, to know what's coming. Every day you check it because it helps you to know what you're going to do that day. The breach in the reach of the scientific community is going to play a part in the human confusion, you see, because they won't understand why these things happen so suddenly and nobody warned them. Nobody warned them about it. But the warning system is all under the control of the financing that comes to these organizations so they can hire the best in the West to make sure that we're aware of what's happening in the world today. So, my thoughts about this are that although the events that I see coming down the pike might not gear up to be so devastating until 2027, there will be some that cause a lot of concern in the next 2 years. But there won't be an ability to regulate the governmental agencies to handle the emergencies. So it's going to cause more chaos, more suffering for people. Okay, I get that. Like FEMA. Yes. So there won't be any consistency because it's just a seat of your pants kind of way to try to run a country by an idiot and his band of thieves. And it isn't going to bring any confidence to the rest of the world. And they're going to say, stand back because you don't want to help the USA because they'll bite you back. They'll bite the hand that feeds them. And you certainly don't want to share any intelligence with them about the security concerns around the world. Just stay back and let them take back their trust on us because they can't trust us anymore and we can't trust them. And that's the way it's going to be, you see, because those countries that are aware of the need to form alliances for their mutual protection will have to do some shifting, you see, to exclude the USA. And that's going to cause a ripple of despair through the world you see. And the people around you are going to be so far from reality that they won't know what's hitting them until it crushes them. That's just the way it will be, and that's okay because if they chose to go that way, that's what they will receive. You see? All right, Thomas, anything else you want to tell me? Because I'm going to post this. Yes, there is one other thing I want to tell you. What I want to tell you is that the ones who will be there to inspire the new nation will not be fundamentally corrupted by the tendency to trust on Trump and his minions, you see. Those people will go away because they will not be prepared for what is to come. And they will leave you room for those who will come to help you be a strong community that will live in peace and harmony. Okay, they will come. So you think all of this is going to come down in 2 years, 3 years? I know that, well, I've had some timelines before, but what do you think? And back and just get through the coming year and do everything you plan to do to prepare because the war machinery is gearing up, you see, and it's going to cause so much tragedy that people around you are going to be dispersed in their trajectory in order to be enveloped in the cloud of smoke that will come their way. Yeah, I don't know exactly what that means, but I'll trust that uh, it'll reveal itself. So you think there's going to be war? No. However, the war machinery will rev up. in order to create a catastrophe for America, you see. So, like, I always thought that Trump was going to declare a war, maybe against Iran, in order to create sort of a smokescreen and to be able to claim all these powers, wartime powers, and to impose martial law. That was my thought of what his plan was. What do you think of that? Is that what you mean by revving up the war machinery? I mean, if we attack Iran, it's going to be, who knows what it's going to be, but it might be just an isolated, war like Iraq. Yes, that is true. So it won't come directly to the USA, but what will come to the USA is the privation of their way of life, you see. They'll no longer be able to survive the way they did because they'll be cut off from the rest of the world. And the rest of the world will stand back and say, we got to stay clear of the USA. And so good luck with your coffee and your banana splits because the way it sits, from what I can see, you're going to get pretty hungry, people. You're going to get pretty hungry. And that's my report today. Thank you, Thomas.